Hi, everyone. Welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. We are back again. My name is Wendy O'Connell, and today our guest is Howard Prussack. Howard owns High Meadows Farm in Westminster West, Vermont's first and oldest certified organic farm. With 65 acres and 5 decades of profitable farming, High Meadows provides premium vegetables, plants, herbs, and hemp locally and throughout the greater New England area. Howard was also a co-founder of the Brattleboro Farmers Market, which all of us know and which is still thriving. Sometime in the mid-70s, we can't quite remember the exact year, but sometime in the mid-70s. And also Howard has traveled the world through Winrock, a nonprofit farmer-to-farmer training exchange program, which is really interesting. And he's going to talk to us about all of these things. Hello, Howard.
Thank you. Hi, Wendy. Hi, everybody out there. It's a thrill, really.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, of course, recognize you.
Well, I've been around for a while,
That's
long
right.
time. And I used to work on Main Street back in 1973, the Good Life store.
Yes. You worked there.
Which is now Yala.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
right.
great. So I've got a history in this town. I had a store on Putney Road, where One Stop Pet is now. I started there. I had a roadside farm market right there.
Yeah.
And then I built a little store there. And then I sold that, and I built a property where the car wash is in front of the Brattleboro Bowl.
Yes.
So I had High Meadows Farm Market there.
I remember that. That was a beautiful building,
Thank you.
too.
It was a post and beam structure. I had a greenhouse attached out front.
Yeah.
I had a big stained glass window out front, which I still have.
Oh, good. That's good. I'm glad that survived.
And my sign was made locally. My wood-carved mahogany sign was up there, and I got that now. I put it out seasonally at the farm.
Oh, good.
So,
that was a really unusual business in town.
It was a bit ahead of its time.
Yes, it was.
It was successful in its own way.
Yeah.
And but it was a real reach for me. I was just a small farmer.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I had this property on Putney Road and this fancy building, really, even though it was post and beam, and employees and things going on. But I learned a lot. And I sold it successfully. And then I went to work for Future Biotics downtown, vitamin company, for a year or so. But I kept on maintaining my farm on a low-key level. And then I went back to the farm full-time. We haven't stopped since. So you were doing these sort of sideline things. And was that to get High Meadows more in the public eye, or because you wanted to be among people in town? I like direct marketing. I like selling direct to people who are buying our stuff.
Right.
Financially for the farm, it made sense, and selling other items made sense. It all made financial sense. We made a little money on everything we sold. Back then when I started, it was hard to find wholesale outlets for our product. There wasn't a huge demand for produce. Couldn't sell into the local supermarkets, couldn't sell to Grand Union, couldn't sell to A&P. There was some retail, there was a place on Public Market on Lower Main Street. Peg and Charlie, I think their names were, great people. They had a nice little market. And the Good Life was buying produce. And then restaurants. We sold to a bunch of Common Ground and several restaurants, but there wasn't a huge demand for our product. And we were growing a lot of produce. We were selling to a distributor from up north, and he went bankrupt, left us owing us a lot of money. That was kind of a shock. So, in business, things happen.
Yeah.
Good things, bad things.
Right. Well, I think one thing that I find to be pretty remarkable is the fact that you have this farm that's a thriving farm, 65 acres, dozens and dozens of vegetables, especially, but all these other things. But you also have a real business sense. And your marketing, I'm not sure exactly when that kicked in.
Very early, actually.
Well,
I grew up in a mercantile family.
You did?
My dad was a great marketer. He had a small store, but he had a real sense of merchandising.
Yep.
And I got to meet salespeople. And I grew up in New York City, frankly. I moved up here when I was 19. It's a whole story.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot, and even in those, after I moved up here, I saw that I was making maple syrup with another farm that I worked for, and I started marketing maple syrup. So I would fill up my little Datsun pickup and drive into New York City, and just sort of drive down Fifth Avenue and Sixth Avenue,
Wow.
and I walked into Bloomingdale's, I walked into Macy's, I walked into B. Altman's. Basically, I walked into Zabar's, Balducci's.
Wow.
Okay, so I walked into every good store that I could find,
Yeah.
and I sold my maple syrup. And I walked into Bloomingdale's, and the secretary says, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "I don't have an appointment." And there was a room full of salespeople. They're all waiting. And so I gave the secretary my little bottle of syrup, and she goes into the back room where the buyers were. And about 2 minutes later, the buyers come out and whisk me in. And all these salespeople in suits, they're all like, "What the hell's going on?"
Oh, wow.
So I learned how to market, my
Yeah.
stuff. And really successfully. I sold tons of syrup in New York City.
Incredible. That's
To
amazing.
like the best. I was on the catalog front page of B. Altman's Christmas catalog.
Really?
Oh yeah, I still have that one. I saved that one. That's a keeper. And so, anyway, merchandising and selling, that just always came naturally to me.
Yes.
Organically in a way.
Organically, yeah. You had it in your bones. What did your dad do?
Well, he ran a small drugstore
Oh,
in Brooklyn. But he was just a natural at it,
Yep.
selling things
Yep.
all the time.
And your mom?
She was a homemaker.
Homemaker.
Yeah, it was a traditional family.
Yeah.
I had an older sister and a younger sister.
You had it in your family,
Yeah.
to go out with whatever your product was, to be out among the people.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
thing that I learned, if you have a good product, if you believe in your product, selling it was easy for me because I had great stuff and I knew that.
Yes.
And that was my attitude.
Yeah.
You don't walk into Macy's like if you think your stuff ain't that great. So, and Bloomingdale's
Right.
and all that. And I was young and I had a good smile and it
Yeah.
opened a lot of doors.
Bet it did, I'll bet. And this was also before things like Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah.
There was no natural market at all.
No,
really.
there were little health food stores, and
Yeah.
I sold to those. 1979, I bought a new Chevy van. I loaded it with maple syrup. I threw a mattress in the back, and me and my girlfriend, we drove to Key West, Florida, and we sold maple syrup all the way down to Key West.
Well, also at that time, none of us really knew genuine maple syrup. Like I grew up in central New York, we
Right.
had Vermont made,
Right.
or Aunt Jemima. No, that was pancakes. Well,
Well,
they went
they had
together.
syrup. Aunt Jemima syrup was a thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know from real Vermont maple
Right.
syrup.
No, it was still like pretty rare, and there weren't any really. I didn't even know who was distributing it. People like me from the farm would be going out and selling it.
Yeah.
But most Vermonters don't drive into Manhattan.
No.
It's like, it's like, whoa. But for me, it was like, I know that neighborhood.
Yeah, right,
You know?
right. You knew it well
Yeah,
enough.
and I could drive, all over New York, and I'm not intimidated. So it worked for me.
Yes.
And I was able to get away with it.
Well, and also I'm sure that it was the shock element as well, like a guy from Vermont coming in selling maple syrup.
Yeah, I didn't tell him I was actually from Brooklyn, though. So I put my best Vermont accent on.
Yeah, yeah.
And it worked out great.
What brought you here to the area?
Great question. A bus brought me up here.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
1971, I came up for the summer, and I actually wound up in Alstead, New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah.
I stayed there for about a week or two, and then I wound up in Westminster West on nature farms that was being run by Samuel Kamen and Kim Hubbard, and it was the first sort of commercial size organic farm. It was like a brand new thing, and it was not a homestead. It was actually like a commercial farm. We had acres of produce, and they were just starting out, and I was one of a dozen young people living in teepees and tents, and
Right.
it was really a glorified commune that embedded into this farm.
Yes.
So I learned a lot from Samuel because he had read a lot and studied, and we would get up at 6 in the morning and read Rudolf Steiner together and learn all about biodynamics, and then head out into the fields and weed carrots. So,
And Sam Kamen went on to create Stonyfield.
Stonyfield yogurt.
Yes.
Right.
That's right.
Yep.
And is he still involved in that, do you know?
No, he sold his share
He did.
dozen years ago, him and his wife,
Yeah.
Louisa, and they moved up along the coast in Maine, and I went to visit them about 4 years ago. And then sadly, Samuel passed away about 2 years ago.
Oh, recently. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so about 2 years now.
Uh-huh. And was that where NOFA was born, the Northeast Organic Farmers Association?
NOFA was born on Nature Farms.
Very cool.
And with Samuel. He
Yeah.
called a meeting. He just invited everybody, and there was this huge meeting, and NOFA got started there.
That's very cool.
And that farm dissolved after 2 years, and I sort of picked up the pieces, and I continued that farm until 1979, and I bought the farm next door.
Oh.
I built enough credit and enough business
Yeah.
that I was able to get funded to buy a dairy farm right next door. And it was an easy move. I just loaded up the wagon with the tractor and kind of coasted down into the driveway with my new house. And so I moved the business down there. But so I had Nature Farms I had certified in 1976. I was the first certified organic farm.
Yep.
And then I moved the certification down to my new farm.
Oh, I see.
So
Yeah. And that new farm was actually on the old Ranny farm property, right?
It was part of the original Ranny farm, and then the brothers, one of the brothers started the farm where I am, and they were both Rannys, and then eventually the brothers fought, or something bad happened that no one talks about, and he sold it off, and instead of selling it back to the brother, he sold it out of the family.
Wow.
So it hasn't been in the Ranny family since the early 1800s.
Oh.
So, but
and they started in the 1700s.
yeah, they were there in
right?
they were like the first,
One of the
the first people in Westminster West.
Yeah.
And we're just lucky the town wasn't called Rannyville or something, because he owned a lot of land all the way through Westminster West,
Yeah.
up until the hills and stuff. And
Yeah.
over the years, he sold it off.
With High Meadows, you have focused on vegetables and herbs,
Right.
and now hemp. And can you talk a little bit about that, about becoming focused on that?
In the 70s and into the 80s, there weren't very many vegetable farms servicing Brattleboro. Westminster had a bunch of big vegetable farms there. There was Allen Brothers, the Scrocky Brothers, Green Mountain Produce, and Harlow's was playing around with cauliflower. That was like his crop. Paul grew cauliflower. That was like his thing.
Interesting.
And but there was nobody servicing the stores in Brattleboro.
Yeah.
So and I was already used to growing vegetables from Nature Farms, and that's what I did. And I was driving my pickup truck down to Manhattan with loads of produce, and I found buyers down there, and I was getting great money down there compared to prices up here. And back then, come September, everybody around here used to have gardens, more so than they did now.
Yeah.
And you couldn't sell tomatoes. You couldn't sell a lot of produce. Everybody had their gardens. All the gardens were in.
Yeah.
So I was forced to truck them out of town, out of state. So I was exporting. So I always thought, I'm bringing new money back into Vermont. I'm an exporter.
Yeah.
So I liked that. And I wasn't competing with other farmers that way, So, and then eventually I had built a greenhouse, and my first greenhouse was in 1979. I won a grant from the Department of Energy, and I built a steel-framed greenhouse, which was one of the first of its kind around here. And then since we built 9 more, I had 10 greenhouses.
Wow.
We got into, actually in a big way, in horticulture.
Yeah.
We were doing potted herbs and vegetable starts, and we were supplying a lot of co-ops and grocery stores. We were delivering with our own trucks. I had 3 trucks. We were on the road 4 days a week. I had drivers, and we were in the Berkshires. We were down in Connecticut. We were in New Hampshire and Vermont, Burlington. So we were everywhere. We sold a lot of plants. Then we got a contract with Whole Foods.
Yeah.
They called us up about, hey, would you grow some plants for us? And I said, yeah. And it was great. And I loved Whole Foods. And I still like it. It's a soft spot. I had the contract for 7 years, and then we gave it up. But I was able to name my price and, you know, what I was going to charge them and the delivery terms and all this. And they were great. It was a lot of work, but they were really great. And that grew us to another level. And but we started to cut back a little. And so we let them go. I had to make life easier. A little bit easier. It was we were working 7 days a week.
Right.
You know, growing and unpacking and shipping and delivering.
How many employees
at
the
that
height?
point, we had like 12 to 15.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big crew.
Yeah.
And just, you know, basically that's almost all I was doing, all, you know, in the springtime was like managing the crew, you know, me and my wife, and she did all the back office stuff and the planning and the scheduling and the bookkeeping for 12 people, 15 people.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And the reason we got into produce actually more so was to keep the staff busy in the summer, because we hired all these people like starting in March and they're working through till June, and they didn't want to leave. So okay, we grew produce to keep them busy, you know. So
Well, it sounds like you were always taking care of your crew, for one thing.
I know, I love the people that work.
Yeah.
You know, I've got people that worked for me now for 25 years.
Yeah.
Imelda's been with me for, I think, 15 years now. And Richard Fairchild, whose family used to own Fairchild's Clothing on Main Street. So they got long roots in this. And then he bought the Putney General Store.
Right.
His dad did, Robert Fairchild.
Yes.
And so I hired Richard, and he's been working for me for 25 years. And then his niece came to work for me. So we keep it all local and in the family.
Well, you said that small farms weave into the fabric of their local community.
Absolutely.
Which is a great quote, and that's lived experience for you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why, you know, we started the farmers market in 1974. I think, I'm pretty sure. We wanted to cut out the middleman and get our products direct to the people.
Yeah.
And we started real small. I think just myself and Dwight Miller Farm are like still the only remaining original people in that farmers market.
Yeah, and that's generational as well.
Right.
And for you, your kids also have been involved in the farm.
Yeah, they have been. Courtney's been involved, not full time, but he's been helping out. And we'll see where that goes. That's my hope for the future.
Right.
You know, one of my hopes. I really would love to see Imelda and her husband, Howie.
That's confusing, yes.
It is very confusing. And my son, you know, continue the farm. That's like my transition year coming up. That's sort of my goal, I think, to see a transition and I could guide it forward.
Well, you know, the one thing, going back to the farmers market for a minute, that farmers market has really not only existed and thrived over these years, but it's really become a destination for a lot of places.
Absolutely, it's a
lot of
destination.
people.
We get, seasonally, we get an incredible amount of tourists, you know, and local people get a little annoyed. They know they got to, like, you know, come early and get out. But, you know, we always have parking. There's a myth that there's no parking. It looks like the parking lot's full, but you know, people come and go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so there's really no parking. And we bought, you know, we now own all that property. I think we're the only farmers market in Vermont, and one of the few in the nation that we actually own our real estate.
Oh, wow.
And that was a long-term vision project of ours that, you know, it took 15 years of acquiring. The first parcel was deeded to us by Green Mountain Power. That was our original parcel that they owned, and they were going to build a substation there. And they realized at some point that probably wasn't going to go over very well, and they didn't need it. Things changed over the years, and they sold it to us for like $1 or something.
Wow.
So that was a little nucleus. And then we bought the gas station. Was there. Then there was another parcel across the Whetstone Brook. We bought that. We did fundraising in the community. We borrowed money. We have a mortgage. We pay taxes, you know, and we created, you know, that was rubble strewn. I don't know if you remember what that property was like, but there was garbage. There was concrete chunks that the town used to dump. We didn't even know where it came from. And originally it was called the Old Mink Farm, and there was somebody there raising mink.
Interesting.
So it was an old mink farm, and we used to dig up pieces of the mink cages and stuff.
Really?
Stuff would surface over the years.
I bet the Historical Society would know about that.
Probably.
Speaking of changes, Howard, over the years, your crops have changed a bit.
I guess so.
I was noticing that in terms, there's hemp, of course, but also black garlic and turmeric and ginger, these things that are now getting to be known as not only wonderful for cooking, but also healing.
Right. No, the strong medicinals.
Yeah.
Black garlic we've been doing for almost 10 years now, and I just made a delivery to the Monadnock Co-op before I came here, actually. And we sell to the Brattleboro Co-op, the Putney Co-op, River Co-op markets down in Northampton, East Hampton. So it's around.
Yeah.
We do that, and that's very strong, powerful antiviral, and it's delicious.
Yes.
It's great adding it to soups and stews and just eating it. It's a sweet kind of, it doesn't taste like garlic. That's what's magical about it.
Yes.
It takes 288 hours of processing for us to make black garlic.
Really?
Yeah, I've got special equipment that does it. Turmeric and ginger, they're one of our fastest growing crops now. We've been growing ginger now. I think this will be our 4th year and our 3rd year for turmeric. And I just shipped out the last of the turmeric. Went to Ohio to another farm.
Wow.
So,
for anyone who hasn't seen right out of the garden turmeric and ginger, it's
they're amazing.
Really,
they're beautiful crops.
Yeah.
Fresh ginger is a real thing,
Yeah.
and it's different from the ginger you see in the stores,
Yes.
which has like a skin on it.
Right.
But fresh ginger, you could just take a bite out of it, or you can make fresh ginger tea. A lot of people take it and they'll grate it, pour in hot water, and you got real ginger tea.
It's a beautiful plant.
Yeah, and for cooking and medicinally.
Yeah.
And turmeric has its own magic.
Yes.
So, I'm sort of excited, doing these medicinals are great. And we've always done potted herbs, basil and sage and rosemary by the thousands, and lavenders were in bloom. We were famous for that.
Now, did you have a personal affinity for any one of these things or for all of them?
I'm not sure. I like growing them. I guess I had an affinity, but I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
I love running my hands across the lavender.
Yeah.
I always tell people they bend down and they smell an herb. It's no, you got to rub the herb.
Right.
You got to rub it to get the oils out, and it's like a whole different thing.
Yeah, it is.
Just like whoa, get a whole face full of rosemary,
Yes.
breathe it in deep. And
Right.
So I guess I have had an affinity
I ask
for it.
also because you said that a pretty field can also be a profitable field, and you had a little background in the arts when you were younger.
Right. Well, in high school and then in college, that's what I majored in. I actually went to an art college in Manhattan, School of Visual Arts, and I did that before I moved up here. I never graduated because I fell in love with Vermont.
Yeah. Was there anything in particular that you were following with art?
It was just basically fine arts. I hadn't found my, specific thing yet. I like doing pen drawings and sculpture. And actually, I had signed up. I was going to be doing a video production.
Oh.
And this would have been in 1971, 72. And it was like the first school that actually started a video school. There was no place to go for video production work then. Oh. So it was really groundbreaking. Back then.
Was this in New York?
Yeah, School of Visual Arts.
Yeah,
it was like a new field for them to get into.
Well, I can tell because you've done a lot of photographs and on Facebook and on Instagram.
I've kept an eye. Yeah.
But you have a really good eye.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah.
It's very noticeable.
But I do keep my fields looking pretty.
Yeah.
And that just makes us work better.
Yeah.
And I think the produce appreciates it. And I know the community does. People drive up and down, the farm's basically on the dirt road, but people do go cruising and they watch us work and they do all that and they look at the produce and all that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. It makes a really big difference,
I think
to have
so.
something that's appealing.
I feel really proud that and you mentioned being part of the fabric of the community, and it's really important that farms be a welcoming, addition and a pretty place, for the community to take pride in, and it's really important to me.
Yeah,
It's always
yeah.
been important to me.
Yeah, yeah, and it comes around. It works both ways.
I think so. Yeah, no, it's been great. This community support for the farmers market is unbelievable.
Yes.
We're like one of the top 2 or 3 in the whole state.
Yeah.
And it's been it's been great for all the people. And it's not just farmers who are there. We have like 49 individual vendors. There's craftspeople, there's soap people, there's somebody doing massages, there's all kinds of food, there's wine, there's spirits,
There's
and
music.
the baked goods are amazing.
Yeah.
The
musicians come and set up.
the musicians are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a real experience.
It is.
And people do come and, they'll spend a couple of hours there wandering. They'll bring their kids, and
Yep.
there's a big sandbox. Kids love. There's little kids running around. You hear the thing, Vermont's getting old, but you come to the farmers market and there's so many kids. From little babies
Yeah.
to teenagers. It's just a wonderful. It's really an inspiring thing. So I can't quit it.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing.
It's just too much fun for me.
Oh, that's so nice. Let's talk a little bit about the farm training that you did through Winrock, because that was really quite an endeavor.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one I went on, it was to Nepal, and I went with my wife. So it was a husband-wife tag team, and we were doing training for, I'm trying to remember the name of the little town. It's pretty far out from Kathmandu, really rural. And it's funny because the Planet people, what's that Planet guide that?
Lonely Planet.
Lonely Planet
Yes.
says, nothing, nothing going on here. But we fell in love with this little place because it was so ordinary. People just doing, their ordinary lives.
Yeah.
And we were working at a nursery who wanted to upgrade his operation and get better at it. And then they invited in a lot of small growers, and they would walk there. Nobody had cars or anything.
Right,
It was really
right.
poor. Nepal's incredibly poor. And it was this one woman, they called her the forest woman, and she walked like 12 miles to get to the training every day and then walk home. And she lived like on the edge of the Chitwan forest.
Yeah.
And we showed them how we sow our seeds and how we germinate them and test for germination rate and different things than they were doing. And my wife helped them on the bookkeeping side,
Yeah.
as well as helping explain the methods to the people.
Yeah.
And when we followed up a year later, the young man who ran the nursery, took it over from his parents, said that he had doubled his profits.
Oh, wow.
He was
That's great.
following what we
Yeah.
told him to do.
Yeah.
And it was great to hear that kind of feedback.
Yes, yes.
So the training was fantastic in Nepal.
Yeah, and you also went to Cuba and Burma and El Salvador and all these other places, and I think that you said at one point, you sort of felt like an ambassador.
You realize, I'm not just training farmers.
Yeah.
I'm representing America.
Yes,
okay?
right.
And this was the soft power that you hear spoken about, but what does it really mean? Well, it means that when they hear America, they'll think of, these 2 farmers who came, we weren't paid. We volunteered. I made that clear to everybody wherever I went. We're there just to help. Mm-hmm. And that was that was the kind of thing that, they felt
Yes.
in their hearts and got positive results.
Yes.
So, we really, you're aware of what so I didn't go out and get drunk on cheap beer. And I don't drink anymore. Not that I drank then much. It was a big deal. And Burma, Myanmar was really unique. And I was there, I was explaining to you earlier, I was there a week after Obama was there. And what a change. People were in love with Obama. And they were selling Obama T-shirts and all these things. And I was like really still at that point, one of the only Westerners and definitely the only American walking around in Yangon.
Wow.
And then going out into the really rural areas where they're growing onions and garlic by the acreage. And we watched sorghum being made, which was much like making maple syrup.
Yeah, right.
And so that was fascinating. All
Yeah.
these hand crank things,
Yeah.
getting the sorghum juice out,
Yeah.
and different copper pipes, boiling it down,
Yeah.
and pouring it into the next, into the next,
Yeah.
into the next.
Yeah.
And everybody was so welcoming and warming.
Yeah.
They sat us down, fed us, and
It's
it was just an amazing experience.
There are many more stories I know that you
Oh
have
yeah,
about
endless.
that.
Cuba was a trip.
Yeah, and it also, I think that there was a reciprocity, though, that you learned things from those
Oh
farmers
yeah,
as well.
I brought back inspiration to see these poor farmers
Yeah.
desperate to learn how to grow more vegetables with nothing. Like they don't even have a seeder. They would have a hoe. Like they don't own anything, A stick would be something that they mark the rows out. And to see how they were trying so hard with so little.
Yeah.
And here I was with so many resources available. So I came back and we doubled down on vegetable production. Really. I said, we got to just grow more stuff. Because we have all this.
Yeah.
It was like a responsibility. I'm teaching people how to grow organic food, all these different countries. And here I've got all these resources. We got to grow more organic food.
Right.
And that's what we did.
Yeah.
I felt I got the benefit.
Yeah.
I gave a little, they gave me a lot.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
So, I made out like a bandit.
Howard, thank you so much.
Oh,
This
it's
has been-
over already?
It's over, I know.
But there's so much more.
I know, there's so many more stories. There's so many more stories.
I'll come back.
Okay.
Part two.
Part two. Yeah, I just want to thank you, for coming and sharing all of this with us. And I think that, again, this is one of the reasons why I do the show, because there's so many things in this community that, I've known about High Meadows for years and years, but never knew the breadth of what you're doing and how you're serving the community. I just really appreciate it. So thank
you. And,
Yeah.
and thanks everybody out there in TV land.
Yes.
For coming to the farmers market. Our produce is available at the Brattleboro Co-op, Putney Co-op, Monadnock Co-op.
Yep.
We were in Hannaford's up until 3 years ago.
Really?
And we just I had to cut back on the things, but
Yeah.
Hannaford's was a great store. They were fine with us.
Nice.
And they're great people to
Yeah.
do business with.
Oh,
but
that's good.
we had to cut back right after COVID. We kind of shrunk the business
Yeah.
a little bit.
That's
went into different areas. So
It's good to know. It's good to know it's a good company.
Yeah.
Thank you, Howard. And pretty soon the new growing season is going to be here with us.
Oh, it's
and
here
so,
now. Yeah, we're
that's right.
starting seeds in a few days.
That's exciting.
So
That's exciting.
I can't wait. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll see you at the market.
Thanks to all of you for being with us today for a really fun show with Howard Prussack, High Meadows Farm in Westminster West. But as he said, you will see him in most of the markets locally and beyond. So thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again, and we appreciate it.